Come on. Welcome to another episode of the Fanzone podcast, your home for all things Bolton Wanderers, up the Trotters, the Northwest's #1 podcast. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, whatever time you're listening to this. Of course, tonight is another episode of the Fanzone podcast, episode 174. Do not adjust your television sets, your radios, your audio players, whatever you're listening back on this. I am on the pod for the first time in, I think, 10 days. It's been a nice break. So very, very happy to be back amongst it, shall we say. Good evening to, obviously, a fellow co-host tonight, of course, an ever-present in recent weeks, Ben. Good evening to you, Ben. How are you?
Evening, mate. Yeah, I'm good. Good.
Excellent. Good to see you. And Dan, how are you? Good evening, mate.
Yeah, spot on. Had a really good weekend. Could have gone a lot worse on Saturday had we lost. I think my mood might have been slightly different. Yeah. But yeah, nice chilled weekend and a good point on the road.
Yeah, I think we titled this Imp-ortant point because we do feel that it was an important point, or will be an important point come the end of the season. It could have been several other different names. I think some of the names suggested for the pod was referencing the referee. We aren't that pod, and we tried to keep it clean, so we decided against that one. But this is the best that we could come up with. Obviously, yesterday Wanderers managed to get a point down in Lincolnshire, and a hard-fought one at that. Please do get your comments in the chat. The more the merrier. Managing the chat tonight will be Ben, but the fan focus will be done tonight by Dan. So yeah, do bring them up because obviously Dan's going to get us to have a good chat about your kind of key talking points later on in tonight's episode. Massive thank you for Josh, who's granted a membership for 1 month. Very much appreciate the support. Josh does go a long way to help us in terms of operating the podcast and kind of growing it and whatnot, which we obviously try to do on a monthly and yearly basis as time goes on, and we do very much love it. So thank you very much for that. Right, okay, excellent. So I reckon we get into our post-match reactions, and once again, do get yours in the chat as we move forward. So, what a piece down in Lincolnshire. A hard-fought point. A game that, unlike usual, we kind of saw that the old XG was kind of against us in terms of chances created by the opposition. But it, when all said and done, didn't really matter because we ended up getting what I personally feel will be a very important point come the end of the season. I'll start with Ben because Ben was at the game yesterday. I always like to go with one of the co-hosts that actually attended the match first of all. Unlike myself and Dan yesterday, I think you get a different perspective when you're live in the stadium. Take it away then, Ben, from your perspective. What do you think went well yesterday, and what do you think didn't go well yesterday?
Yeah, interesting game. It's funny you say a better perspective. I mean, we had a nightmare with our coach. It was loads of traffic, so we basically walked in as it kicked off. So didn't even have a chance to find a seat or anything. We basically stood behind the net, level with the pitch. So I'm not going to lie, I didn't have much of a view for the first half, apart from what was happening at our end, which there's quite a bit, to be fair. But yeah, to be honest, one of the only times I walked away from a draw this season thinking, yeah, we've kind of got away with one there, I think. Yeah, I think that's a good point made by Phil. It's a good point. We'd have lost that under a certain previous manager. We probably would have been. I mean, I don't know if it's down to the manager, but it's more Lincoln's finishing. Really, they probably should have been like 2 or 3 goals up before we got back into the game. I thought we had. We chatted before. I thought over the game we probably had about 20, 25 minutes where we looked maybe the better team. The rest of the game they were on top. Chances wise, I think Jack Moylan on his own had 10 shots and could have had a hat trick. He hit the post and hit the bar. Very early on, and had a couple of other really good chances. And obviously, he scored a really good goal 25 minutes in. But yeah, we stuck at it. It was a really good reaction second half, especially when the subs came on. I think that game yesterday kind of summed up Lincoln and us. What it'll be for the running of the season. They've got a really, really strong 11 and gave it everything for 70 minutes. And as soon as we made our subs, and we have a stronger bench, I don't think any Lincoln fan will deny that. As soon as we made the subs and brought good or level, even better players off the bench, while they probably downgraded in their substitutions, we kind of took over the momentum of the game. And yeah, I thought Sheehan, Kenny, and Rodriguez were all good and all. Helped us get back into the game, and yeah, it was a great goal. Another great goal by Dolby. He's on fire at the minute. Fantastic header, great ball by Arajon. It was lovely in the. I don't know if you've seen the goal back, but every time Ethan got the ball yesterday, he got booed, which I'm not surprised at all. And to be honest, in the first half, I think it kind of maybe got into his head. He got booked earlier on and lost the ball a couple of times and didn't have the greatest of first half, but second half stepped up. And yeah, when he got the ball for our goal, there was boos ringing around, and then he clipped in a lovely ball for Dolby, and then boos turned into jubilant celebrations for us in about 3 seconds. So, but yeah, all in all, a good point. I think before the game, I would have been a bit not disappointed, but a bit maybe miffed to the point, thinking it's a big opportunity to close the gap. But the main thing yesterday was to not lose, because if we'd have lost, I think they would have all been. I mean, there's obviously plenty of games to go, but I think top 2 would have been all but kind of done, really, because they would have been 9 ahead with the game in hand. Whatever game in hand is a game in hand. You don't know what's going to happen, but if they'd have won that, they'd have been 12 ahead. I mean, you're looking at them dropping points in 5 or 6 games more than us towards the end of the season. So it's a big ask, but yeah, a good point. We're still 6 behind. Anything can happen from here on out.
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, I think the point, hopefully, come what may, we'll look at that as a very good one. And I think they might very well look at that as a real missed opportunity, because I think the amount of chances that they had, all you need to do is look at the kind of pressure points during the course of the game, and you can kind of see that they were, I'll probably say for about over the course of 90 minutes, they were probably the best team for about 70 of them. 65 at a push, but we ended the game with a result, which is all that really matters. And I think when you look at it, them hitting the post, hitting the crossbar, half chances here, half chances there. I don't think they're a great side, if I'm honest. I think people say, they're a good team, they've got good players and all that. I'm not so sure personally. I think they're just a very, very, very effective team.
Does that not make them a good team, though? If they're really effective, does that not make them a good team? I know what you mean.
I'm not so sure, because I think the fact that they were so wasteful, and they do,
I guess,
I think when you're talking like kind of them top positions in the league, are they gonna push on and win the league? No. Will they probably finish within the top 2 or 3, 4 teams? Yeah. But I think that the reason why they're not going to finish top is because they're not a great side. People say they're a great side. I'm not so sure they are, really. I just think they've got good players, but they're an effective side. And I'm never going to say anything too negative about the way they play. I mean, I couldn't watch it every week, personally. Having said that, I did watch it every week. 15 years ago, we were one of the best teams in the country at playing the dark arts and playing the game the so-called unfashionable way. So you got to give them credit where it's due. I think when they're pitching up against teams like ourselves and Huddersfield and teams that have got bigger budgets and big, likely to attract better players, then they got to find a way to be effective, haven't they? And that's exactly what they are. They're just a very, very, very effective team, and credit where it's due. But as I said, I think come the end of the season, they might very well look at that and think we've had a bit of a nightmare there and not finishing them off, because I think we're only going to get stronger, and I think the players that came off the bench, as Ben touched upon a second ago, is probably a bit of a highlight of that, a bit of a noticeable point in that respect, because the quality of the player that we can bring off the bench, and bear in mind that a few of them are obviously scrapping for minutes at the moment and trying to find their feet a little bit. They're only going to get stronger, which will obviously help us win even more points, hopefully, by the end of the season. What we're looking, 45 points to play for, something like that. Near as damn it. It's a lot of football. Anything can happen. And I'm really hoping that Nobby helps us out on Tuesday night and scraps a draw for Northampton away at Lincoln, because they play a very similar way, and you never know, because I think a lot of emotional tiredness and fatigue will have been taken out of Lincoln yesterday. So hopefully Nobby can do us a favour on Tuesday, and providing that we obviously do the bit against Reading, then let's see whether we can close that gap a little bit more. But yeah, what about you, Dana? Did you think the game went overall?
I mean, I think they are a good team, especially at home. I think, are they the most talented group of footballers? No. I think we'd quite easily win that if we were going to go and compare squads. What I will say is I don't think I've seen a team work as hard all season when I've watched it, and they were so aggressive. They were a massive team. I know Keith Hill made a comment a couple of years ago about Bolton when he were referring to us as like too many artists and not enough soldiers. And they are a team of soldiers with maybe one or two artists. And I think at this level, it's kind of the blueprint to get out of the league. If you can get momentum, we've seen it. Teams go up like Derby, Portsmouth, nothing spectacular about them whatsoever, just a little bit of quality, but that absolute top tier work rate and desire. And I thought we were fortunate to get a point. Don't get me wrong, I felt we had chances. So did they. But that's been the story of our games a few times this season, where we've not taken our chances and the opponents either beat us or got a draw out of the game. So it's one of them. I think it's a good point. I think a few of our fans on Twitter in particular were putting a lot of pressure on the game as like whether we, automatics is in reach or whatever. That game is not the one to judge it off. It's the games what you want to look at over Christmas and before, where we've dropped points at home.
Absolutely.
And not forgetting, we weren't great on the road for quite a while. So I think it's a great point. I think, all right, it's not got us where we want in terms of touching distance a second first, which is what we all love. But I think when you look at who we've played in the kind of playoffs automatics, we've lost against Stockport out of that. And one thing that's been levelled at our team over the years is we bottle it against the good teams, the big teams. We don't get results against them. Kind of the opposite this year. We've done really well against the bigger teams, and we've struggled against the ones who we'd been expected to turn over quite easily, to be honest. So it was encouraging at times. I thought, Bonham, there's no denying he kept us in it. He looks such a good acquisition. If it was a gamble, then it's paid off already, probably after the first game, in all honesty. It was a tough day for the wingers, purely because of how relentless they were in the press and how aggressive they were. I don't think Apter, obviously, he's probably not quite up to speed. He worked his best game. He could have scored, maybe could have scored two if he'd have made contact with a volley that he kind of made a mess of. But it weren't Blackett Taylor's game today. Yesterday. It was just something else we needed to get a result out of that. And I'm so happy that it was Delby with the air honesties, because he's just led the line fantastically well for us this past couple of months, and he's really showing what we were hoping we'd be getting. For us, it's really just a case of just win your games now. I feel like we've had our dodgy period over the season. I feel like there's teams that have not necessarily had theirs yet. I think it's well within the realms of possibility that could happen to a Lincoln or a Stockport. It could happen, and we could just keep picking up momentum. But for the lads to dig a result out like that, where we were under the cosh for quite a big part of it, I think it does speak to a level of resilience in this team. And a determination to stay in games, even though we might not have any right to at certain points. So it's a good point against, I will say, a good team. And obviously they played us at our place. It was different kind of game, but at home they are formidable. And you can see why. They've got a bit of quality, and they're very much a group that are together. And I think Scubalo's done a cracking job with them, especially when you factor in budgets and whatnot. So all in all, yeah, I'd love to go on there and win. But you can't win. You don't lose. We said it a few times, and that was a game that we could have lost, but we didn't. So a point on the board, and I'm happy with that.
I think the point you make about them being at home and a really good team is a good point, because it kind of gets lost in it's a promotion 6-pointer. We need to go there and win. The reality is the teams in the top of the table are just very, very good at home and very rarely lose. The other big games between the big teams, there's only Bradford who's gone to Cardiff and won, and even then it was a pretty close game where Bradford's keeper got man of the match, and the edge of the close game. When Lincoln came to us, they went ahead early, and then it was an onslaught from us, and we got the equaliser late on. When Cardiff came to us, they had 4 shots not on target. They barely even laid a glove on us. They looked like a decent team knocking the ball about, but they barely had a chance. And I know we scraped it last minute, but no one really goes to another team in the top near, well, this season anyway, near the top of the table, and goes in and plays them off the park. It's always going to be a close game, and at any point away from home against one of the teams at the top is a decent point.
Well, for context in that respect, Ben, the top 3 teams in the division are the top 3 teams at the top of the league in terms of home results for the season. Obviously, Cardiff, the top of that, they've got 40 points from the home fixtures, plus 21 goal difference. We're second in that particular table, 37 points plus 18 goal difference. And Lincoln are on 37 points also, but they're plus 17 goal difference. So that just backs up what you're saying, really.
Yeah, between us, I was looking before, between us, we've only lost 4 games at home between us in 48 games, I think it is altogether. And then 4 games of that Bradford game that I mentioned at Cardiff, and then Burton won at Cardiff. Burton won at Cardiff, where it was one of them where Cardiff had like 25 shots and Burton had 3, and it was a smash and grab. Mansfield won at us, where it was pretty much the same, and then Exeter won at Lincoln, where it was pretty much the same. It was like a 20 shots to 3, and Exeter nicked it in the last minute. So teams just don't come to the top teams and play them off the park and get loads of chances. As much as I walked away from the game a little bit disappointed that we didn't maybe go there and have as many chances as we have recently, it's not realistic, really. We'll take a point and go. And as Dan said, if we don't get top 2 this season, it's because we have dropped points against the teams lower down that when we should have won, rather than not picking up points against teams around us. Yeah,
absolutely. I must admit, I was expecting a point from yesterday. I thought he'd draw written all over it. I said to Jake before the game that it was going to be a draw. So I wasn't surprised whatsoever, to be honest with you. And I think I'd have took it before, even though it doesn't really affect anything, and it kind of just, moves the fixture just down one, done it effectively. It doesn't change anything as far as the league tables are concerned. But just take your point and come home, basically, and make sure that you go to Reading and pick up maximum points. But Reading will be a challenging game. Let's be fair. They're on a bit of a run. Obviously, they beat Wycombe, didn't they? Yesterday, 3-2. They're 8th in the home table in terms of their performances this season. So again, not going to be an easy one.
It might not change the league, and like you say, it is just a game added on. But I think when you've got another away game coming up, it's got to bring confidence to that team to go and get a result there, because you've probably played one of 2 of the hardest away games that you're going to play in this division there, and come out with a draw. So I think really you should be looking at confidently ahead to the next one.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's another point actually, because I'm hearing a good number of people, Jake specifically, on his preview that Ben did before the Lincoln game. He kept going on about how awful we are away from home, which by our standards and the squad that we've got, we probably have been pretty poor away from home this season. But that's 19 points now away from home so far this season. If we go and beat Reading, of course, on Tuesday, that'll take it up to 21 points. So ultimately,
and it's 8 in the last 4. We were pretty
awful
for the first half of the season. We've been decent since the turn of the year, to be honest. So we're trending upwards, aren't we?
Exactly that, yeah. And you can trend upwards going into the last quarter of the season, then that can only be a positive, can't it? That's the way I'm looking at it.
Not only that as well. you got to think, and I don't think we touched on it then, but Johnny Kenny and Ruben Rodriguez coming in as well to freshen things up even more.
Absolutely, and I don't even think it's just them, Dan. I think it's the lads on the wings as well. They're still finding minutes. You know, they've not played themselves that much, have they? Really, in the last few months, and they're only gonna get stronger, aren't they? As well. So, we've got a few players to choose from. I think as far as man of the match concerns, but I think there's only going to be one winner. But yeah, let's do the old man of the match. Please do continue to get your comments and whatnot in the chat. Obviously, really busy tonight, so thank you very much for that. Ben will be making sure he'll bring the comments on the screen during this particular segment. Please let us know who your man of the match was. Dan, I'll start with you, please, pal. What are you saying?
Super Jack Bonham, a keeper who makes saves, an experienced keeper, I think, who inspires a bit of confidence in the defenders, takes pressure off when he can, keeps it simple, kicks it long when he needs to, goes short when he needs to. Just a safe pair of hands that he's been so far. Let's be fair, if it weren't for him, we would have lost, definitely. He made some great saves. Dalby, obviously, is going to get a shout as well. I thought he took his goal fantastically well. Great header. It was one of the games where it not as much came off for him, probably because of how good they are aerially and how aggressive they are. But you could still see that his game is just leveled up from where it was a few months ago with some of his old up play. And he got a good shot off in the first half as well, which the keeper made a decent save with. I don't think there were too many standouts, to be honest. I thought Errejón was good, bar that little glitch that he had in the where he just forgot what to do and lost the ball, and we could have conceded. Luckily, Bonham kind of bailed him out with a save there. But I think you'd be hard pushed to find someone more fit, deserving of it than Jack Bonham yesterday.
Yeah, I'm gonna make it dead quick and easy. I'm gonna go obviously Bonham as well, for all the reasons that Dan just said. Although I do want to give a couple of shout outs to a couple of individuals that have had it a little bit hard last few weeks. Specifically, George Johnson on the left side of defence. Obviously, kind of filling in for Max Conway in that position, depending on in and out of possession, depending on how you look at it. But I think in a position that, half the time that he's playing in the game that he's not too familiar with, I think he's done a pretty good job this last couple of games. And I think he was solid enough yesterday against a couple of tricky wingers. All in all, he did not a bad job in kind of keeping them quiet. Although I am very much looking forward to seeing Max Conway back, of course, hopefully on Tuesday. And secondly, of course, Ibrahim Sissoko, I think, who added a little bit of something different on that left side. And I think obviously Shuey mentioned the tightness of the pitch, and I think he had the right back on strings a couple of times, didn't he? And yeah, I think he kind of shows that he's got everything that you need from an attacking wide man. He just needs to find a little bit of consistency. And as I've said a few times already, I do think he'll have a bit of a say in this season. And hopefully yesterday was the start of that by contributing to us getting a point on the road. So yeah, them two, but obviously Bonham's man of the match. Ben, what about you?
Yeah, unsurprisingly, and just like the chat, which I will run through very quickly now, it is a resounding Jack Bonham. I think it's 13, I can see, and not really a shout for anyone else. I think Brandon said about Sissoko as well, as you mentioned. I thought he was decent when he came on, putting a couple of decent balls that probably someone should have been on the end of. Yeah, I agree. Dolby had a good game. Dolby, great for the goal. I don't forget his best overall game because he basically had two brilliant centre halves on him.
I thought you say it. Sorry, Ben, you say that, but if he didn't half occupy him, during that game yesterday, it would have been a tough afternoon for them centre halves, with even their experience, really.
Yeah, but fantastic goal. That header was, I think, underrated. To be honest, he's not even looking at the goal, and he's not even very close to the goal either, and he just loops it into the top corner. It's a fantastic header. I was right behind it. And I thought, Bonham, obviously. I mean, he made 9 saves yesterday. That is the second most anyone has made all season in League One in a single game. First was Peacock Farrell against Cardiff when they beat them, and Cardiff had about 15 shots on target, something silly. But massive by Bonham, and a couple of them are really, really good, especially second half when they had a bit of an onslaught. I thought, he kept us in it, and I thought the subs, Rodriguez and Kenny, were brilliant when they came on. Rodriguez made a couple of nice dribbles and stuff, and I think what's been underrated a little bit as well with our goal is it was a long ball forward that got headed out, and at the point it's headed out, I think Rodriguez is about 10 or 15 yards behind. I don't know who it is, their lad, but we're running to get the ball. Rodriguez makes up the space and gets to it first and gives it to Sheehan, which allows us to keep on the attack. And Kenny, a couple of good plays. I do wonder if he could have maybe bought the foul, when he ran through. And
that ref wouldn't have give it, mate. Let's be fair.
Probably in the back, that's probably in the back of his mind.
It would have been a free kick anyway, on the edge of the box. I think the moment he would have gone down, I watched it back a couple of times. It would have gone on the edge of the box.
I tell you what, though, just very briefly on that, he has some energy and pace about him, doesn't he?
Oh yeah.
I really like that as an option for us.
Directness. Looks, really positive.
You don't play for Celtic Football Club if you're crap.
No, you don't. You don't. You started more than 15 games for him this season, so he's got something about him. I like him. And obviously Josh Sheehan. I mean, he's just
unreal.
He's just our best player, isn't he? And when he's fit, he has to play. And I think he was. To be honest, I give credit to Schumacher because if at half time, I think I would have, especially with Errol and Dempsey both on the yellow card, I would have thrown them both on Sheehan and Simons at half time.
Yeah.
Credit to him. He kept Errol on and he played very well second half. But Sheehan's he's a level above, isn't he?
Of course.
When he comes on, I think I like Dempsey suited the game last week against Barnsley. I mean, one with his set piece delivery, which has come out of nowhere, and two because it was more of an attack v attack game. It was more, transitional, I guess. He kind of thrived in that, his high energy. But when a team, obviously Lincoln had some high energy, but at times he said, right, you have the ball and try and break us down. And when it comes to collecting the ball off the centre halves and trying to make something happen, there's no one on Sheehan's level anywhere near him. So, he, as Jordan said, just a level of composure whenever he's on the ball. He's different gravy.
I think the nice thing about that yesterday, sorry Ben, was the fact that Josh got minutes after obviously being out for a couple of weeks in a high intensity game environment, and he didn't look like he'd been missing for a few weeks, did he? I think the fact that he got 20 minutes, coming into another double game week, and obviously going to be an intense game against Blackpool on Saturday is going to be of benefit to us, isn't it? Really.
Yeah, absolutely. But my man of the match is Jack Bonham, obviously. I think that's a clean sweep, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah, and fully deserved. Okay, so it's the Gaffer's Notebook with the stat man coming up next, and I think it's safe to say that he's got his teeth stuck into this one because this is a rather lengthy segment for Mr. Statman today. 7 minutes and 14 seconds of pure Statman delight. So enjoy.
Hello everybody, welcome back to the Gaffer's Notebook with the Statman, and today we're of course going to review.
I've stopped it because I've just realised, and this is the beauty of live podcasting, I didn't run the mid-roll and I didn't want to get in trouble off HR, so here we go.
Hello everybody, welcome back to the Gaffer's Notebook with the Statman, and today we're of course going to review the 1-1 draw against Lincoln City this weekend. Now, that probably was not the result you were hoping for, but is it a bad point? I don't think so. Now, yes, I said it was a 6-pointer in the preview show, but against second place in the league at their place as well, I think you've got to be somewhat happy with that. I have got one big issue I would like to address, but we'll do a little review of the game statistically first. So, as expected, you dominated the ball with 62% possession. They were never going to have more of the ball because they have the least average possession per 90 in League One this season. So, that was never going to happen. But they did create quite a bit more chances. They had 22 shots compared to your 8 and 10 on target compared to your 3, which is, of course, a little bit of a concern, but they are one of the best teams in the league, as are you. So I don't think you can be too annoyed at the end of the day. Yes, I have got one big thing that I'm going to slightly kick off about, but anyway, they did create a lot of their expected goals, so chances, in other words, from set pieces. Now, we did say this in the preview. They are very good from set pieces. They are almost Arsenal-like, probably better. They are better than set pieces than Arsenal. But they're also very Arsenal-like in their play. I mean, I don't know if you noticed that they seem to milk every single tackle and stay down for about 3 minutes every time. That is very Arsenal. Their front four rotated quite a lot. That is a little bit Arsenal. They don't do it too much anymore, but there used to be a time when they did, and you still see it every now and then with Martinelli popping up on the right side, Eze moving over to the left, etc. So they are very, very Arsenal. But apparently you can't say that without getting a lot of stakes. So let's move on, shall we? Now, my main qualm, shall we say, from this game was the team selection. Now, can I blame Mr. Steven Schumacher for sticking with the boys that have done so well recently? No, I can't, really. But we did say in the preview that you'd probably need 2 defensive midfielders. Is Dempsey a central midfielder? I don't think so. Listen, I don't think he had a bad game, but he's much more of a box-to-box player. And there's nothing wrong with that. You can see on the screen, it wasn't actually a bad game, but there's nothing wrong with him being a box-to-box player. It's just the thing is that you needed to be defensively secure against Lincoln, and you weren't because he was playing. And because he was playing in the double pivot, that is. Because I actually would have played him as the number 10. But anyway, let's get into this issue. So this is the lead up to their first goal. Okay, obviously both Arahon and Dempsey were booked inside the opening 35 minutes, so that wasn't good anyway. But in the lead up to their first goal, you can see on the screen, Lincoln have the ball out wide on the left wing. Arahon has gone over to try win the ball. There's an argument to say that he should, and there's an argument to say that he shouldn't. I don't hate it, right? I think it's a bit aggressive when you're not pressing dead high and you're in your own half and he's quite clearly going down the line. But listen, I don't mind it too much. It was very aggressive, let's pull it out. But notice, Kyle Dempsey has also moved over quite far to that side. And you may see on the Lincoln right wing and your left wing, Hackett and Moylan are stood in absolutely acres of space, are they not? They've got pretty much the freedom of the park. And you could make the argument, why isn't Black and Taylor coming back? Well, it's not really his man, is it? Because they're the right winger and number 10. But anyway, we'll move on. They move the ball higher up the pitch. And Arahon is the man to engage and try win the ball. That shouldn't be him. Before it was all right. This is way too deep for him to be out there. And now, yes, OC22 has clearly been beat, as you can see on the screen. But that shouldn't be Arahon's job. He should be where Dempsey is. And Dempsey should be quite a bit closer to the centre, because who is in acres of space on the edge of the box? Hackett and Moylan. And now, Johnston has got a big decision to make. I'd say he makes the wrong call, because he just chooses not to mark either of them. But in reality, what do you want him to do? Because where's he supposed to be? He's got 2 people to mark. He probably does the right thing in reality by standing off him. Because if they whip a ball into the back post, that's his all day. But they don't whip a ball into the back post, do they? They actually pull it back to the edge of the box to Moylan and Hackett, as you can see now. Johnston pushes up and he sort of just stood there going, right, what on earth do I do now? Because again, who is he supposed to go to when the ball's bouncing around in between him? When Moylan gets it, he goes to Moylan. And then, of course, it falls to Hackett. And, of course, he pushes on him because you kind of have to. Because if you don't, he's getting a shot off. Yes, Dempsey's coming over, but he shouldn't have to be coming over. He should be there already. And who would be there? I think Simons and Sheehan would both be in that position right there. And anyway, we all know what happens next. Johnston commits too far, Moylan's wide open, and it's a great finish, to be fair. You've got to say it's a very good finish. But he's wide open in the box. That can't happen, can it? Ever. So for me, Schumacher's got the team selection wrong there. And yes, it is probably Arahon and Dempsey's fault as well for moving to places where they shouldn't be. But if you were playing Arahon and Simons there, or Arahon and Sheehan, whatever combination you want, that's not happening. Because Sheehan or Simons, they've got the tactical intelligence to stay in the middle. And I'm not saying Arahon and Dempsey are stupid footballers, but I think you can understand what I mean. Simons and Sheehan are both pure number 6s. And yes, Arahon is as well. But he's jumped too far, he's done the wrong thing. And yes, it's fine to make a mistake, but then the other man's got to pick up for you, and Dempsey's not, because he's not a defensive midfielder. If he was playing in the 10 instead of McAtee, he's probably in that position, let's be honest, because I think when this goal goes in, McAtee is playing on the right, he's just on the right wing, because he's been beating the press and he's not tracked back, which can have an argument whether he should or shouldn't in the first place. But Dempsey's probably getting back because that's what he does, he works his socks off. He won't have to, though. Simons would be there. Sheehan would be there. I've made my peace. I think Schumacher's got to have a bit more balls, and he's got to be willing to change a winning team. Yes, that's not an easy thing to do, but it's quite clearly what needs to happen in a game like that. Against Reading, probably a different story, because it's Reading, it's not Lincoln. So, yes, that is all I have got to say for this review show, and I'm sure I'll see you very soon. Goodbye.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, very much so. I mean, listen, I agree with what the Statman says, and I agree with what he is saying in that instance, to see the point of kind of picking apart them kind of two 8s in that particular scenario. However, yesterday's game was more suited for Demps, I think, as an 8 against a team like that in certain other scenarios, such as obviously early and that kind of battle. I can't see Simons having the same effect as what Demps did yesterday. Yes, he probably might have done better in that particular scenario with the goal, but I'm not so sure Simons would have competed well enough in other parts of the game, if that makes sense. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, Ben.
I don't want to single out Dempsey, but I feel like what Statman was saying about how they were always going to have low possession and we were always going to dominate the ball. And when I was talking about it before, when, I mean, off the ball, maybe a different story because he does work very hard off the ball. But yeah, in possession, definitely. When a lot of times yesterday we had the ball with our centre arse and kind of didn't really know what to do with it and ended up with a big lump up field, which Bobby did his best with, but that's how Lincoln are built for. That's, you know, they're all 6'2" plus, aren't they? It was difficult to win the aerial duels against them. So at that point, I think you needed someone like Sheehan or Simons who's going to want to get on the ball more. Arahon tried his best, and I think he did well second half. I think he lost it a bit first half. The yellow card kind of put him off, I think, because yellow card, there wasn't a yellow card at all, by the way. But yeah, if I was going to play Dempsey yesterday, I think I would have played him in a midfield 3 or as him as the number 10. But I don't think McAtee deserves to be dropped because he's probably had his best few weeks in a Bolton shirt. So yeah, it's a difficult one. I think in hindsight, it's easy to say you got the team sheet wrong because we've got dominated for parts of the game. But I don't think when the team sheet was announced, anyone would have been too disappointed with what they've seen, to be honest. I think it's one of them. If Sheehan had been back a week before and is fully fit, he slots straight into the team, no question about it. So, and Simons hasn't been at the races the last couple of months. So yeah, when the team came out, I wasn't too disappointed. But as I said before, I probably would have brought them both off at half time. But yeah, kind of proved me wrong second half. So yeah, it's interesting. I do agree with what he was saying though. It was bad for that goal. Everyone kind of jumped over to the right hand side and it left the middle completely wide open, didn't it? Johnston 2 against 1.
I also thought the centre half could have shifted over a little bit quicker as well. Like Farino should have really read the fact that there's too much space to his left hand side and kind of close that gap down a little bit more when the ball came over. So you can kind of like pick apart quite a few parts of that goal, can't you? Really, as disappointing defensively. But here we are. We ended up getting a point, so it's not the end of the world. So we shouldn't really, worry too much about it, I don't think.
Mm-hmm.
Fingers crossed anyway, come the end of the season. 3 up, 3 down. I'm sure Ben's touched upon his late arrival to Sincil Bank yesterday. I'm sure that could be up there, but let's have a little listen to what the lads have to say. So as ever, the 3 up, 3 down, which is 3 up, 3 down this week, which is good. It's just a bit of fun, a bit of light-hearted entertainment, shall we say. 3 positives and 3 negatives from yesterday. I'll start with you, Dan. What was your up from yesterday, please?
My up yesterday was not Bolton Wanderers related. It was, again, I'm going to shout out my son who played for his Adlington Juniors football team, the Stingrays. He got 2 goals yesterday against a really good team, and they got quite a resounding win, to be honest, against a team who are doing very, very well, and they're now unbeaten in 7. So proud dad on the sidelines, fantastic.
Just like the Wanderers.
Yeah. Brilliant effort from boys, and when you're a dad watching your lad do the same thing that you love to do, and it's just there's not much better things.
No.
Obviously, the Bolton result were good, but that really set the tone for my Saturday yesterday. It was brilliant to watch. So well done, Finn.
Love it. Well done, pal. Yeah, I know that feeling well, Dan, I must admit. And to be honest with you, that's part of the reason why I didn't make the trip to Sincil Bank yesterday, because my little lad started playing football. He's only 4, but he started playing with, he's been moved up to the under 6s, and he's kind of holding his own with lads that are kind of a couple of years older than him. And I just simply don't want to miss seeing him play, even at such a young age. I have to remind myself that he's only 4 years old and stuff, but he had a similar situation last week. Like he scored a couple of goals against under 6s, and it's just magical. And I really didn't want to miss him potentially doing that again yesterday. So I'm well on board with what you're saying, Dan. It's only something that you can understand if you're lucky enough to have children at some point. But yeah, definitely, I'm on board with that. What about you, Ben? What was your up from yesterday?
Well, surprisingly, mine's nothing to do with my unborn son so far.
I know that you know about. You went travelling, didn't you? There could be a little Ben in Australia somewhere.
There could be. It's been about 9 months now, isn't it? Yeah, who knows? Yeah, my up is for one of the only times this season to walk away from a game where we've drawn kind of happy, because feeling like we've got away with one. I think Doncaster were away was probably the only other one where I walked away reasonably happy, but I was fuming after that because we were terrible. But yeah, yesterday I kind of walked away thinking, you know what, I'm actually not too fussed, because yeah, as I said before, they could have been 2 or 3-0 up before we scored, and it keeps us in the race. The last thing I wanted yesterday is for us to go out with a whimper and lose, and kind of be not out of the top 2, because anything can happen, but to have 14 games left where realistically we're probably just going to kind of walk towards being in the playoffs, because we're pretty comfy in the playoffs at the minute. I think we're 10 points clear. So correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah, to still be in the race for the top 2. Yeah, that's my positive, really.
Love it. I'm going to sound like a proper old man here with my up from yesterday. So I'm responsible for the food shopping in our house. And I usually use it as a bit of an opportunity to have a bit of a break away from the missus and the little lad, like a bit of a clear my head a little bit and walk around the supermarket for like 3 hours. But yesterday I was a little bit short of time because I was doing a few bits around the house, and I did an online shop for the first time. And yeah, Ocado have got a lot of good things to say about themselves. It's a rather easy process that I've thoroughly enjoyed. So I'll be using them again. There are other supermarkets, of course, available, but yeah, I'll be using that service again. So that was my up from yesterday. Rather seamless process, which was good. What about you? You down from yesterday, then, Dan? Have you got a negative?
You shopping at Ocado, but apart from that,
what's wrong with that?
Just posh, aren't you? Too posh for me. My down from yesterday, I think the right back position potentially. I know he didn't have a great game yesterday, Ossie. I do think that he wasn't overly helped at times.
Yeah.
They had two players around him a lot, and we weren't showing for him. There was one instance in particular in the second half where we got counted on because he had two men around him and no Bolton players were in the vicinity. So I did feel a bit for him. That being said, he'll know that it weren't his best game. And
sorry, Dan, just quickly on that on Ossie Tutu. Do you think that highlighted yesterday against a team that are obviously very effective and are up there for all the reasons that we discussed before? Do you think it highlighted that he isn't a fullback by trade and he's more of a wing back?
No, and I don't, because I think he has done a decent job there when asked. I do prefer him at wing back. There's no doubt about that. But I think if Conway, for example, played yesterday, you'd have probably seen Christian at right back. I just felt that because Johnston was in the team, he's obviously not going to give you much in terms of an attacking output. And I felt that just for a bit of balance, where we obviously shift into a 3 when we had possession, he was the more likely one to play in that position, and he struggled. It was a tough game for the kind of, how do I say it? More like Fleur players. It was a really tough game for them, and he wasn't the only one who struggled. But I just felt anyway, and you can have your opinions on Cogley, but I felt when we sold him, we kind of took a bit of a risk because Ossie Tutu, obviously, he's had his injury problems, and then Christie doesn't look like, or he hasn't looked like he can go kind of Saturday, Tuesday. So I felt it was always a bit of a risk. I think he can be great at home. And like I said, if we ever revert back to wing backs for whatever reason, I think he'd be perfect for it. But he does struggle at right back sometimes. And again, he's not going to face teams like that who are going to put it on him all game. Like they did and target him. So, kudos to them as well. But yeah, he didn't have his best game.
Yeah, every time he got played the ball, it seemed like there was 3 men on him. And as someone's pointed out, that Davies pointed out, all their keeper kicks went up towards Rob Street for them on the left-hand side. He was a striker playing on the wing. Yeah. He was, a big lad. And Ossie Tutu's probably 5'8", 5'9", and he's got a decent leap on him, but he's not gonna out jump him. And yeah, I think they obviously cottoned on to that. And yeah, the opposite to Johnson on the right, on the left hand side. It's not, he has been really good. He's probably been one of our best players since Christmas time, probably. So yeah, I'm sure he'll bounce back. But he was a bit disappointing yesterday.
What about your negative from yesterday? What's your down, Ben?
My down is I was on the coach yesterday from Walton White, so we set off at about 9 o'clock. Stopped in Upper beforehand, which was meant to be only about 40 minutes away from Lincoln, and got back on the coach at 1:15. So you're thinking we've got plenty of time to get there for about 2:15, couple of drinks before we go in. And no, we got to basically the road up to the stadium, and it was gridlocked and we basically got in the ground at 3 o'clock. So at that point, I'd not had a drink since about half 12, 1:45, and then I had to sit through 2 hours of football without having a drink. And I don't mean an alcoholic drink. I meant my mouth was dry as anything. And then we got back on the coach, thinking we were going to stop off somewhere about an hour back towards home. And then it was 2.5 hours till we stopped. So I basically went about 6 or 7 hours. I did not mean to do that. 7 hours
Jesus
before having a drink, and I felt like my mouth was a desert. It was not enjoyable, to be honest.
It's always you complaining about food or drink on your negative every week. Yeah. It's either pasties or not getting a drink.
Bane of my life, mate. Yeah,
struggling, aren't you, on that one?
Yeah.
My negative is just, I've said it before, and I'll continue to say it until we get out of this league. But the coverage on them games on iFollow or whatever system they use, it's just crap. Like, I just don't enjoy watching it on telly at all. Like, they focus too much on the crowd. They're not keeping up with the game. it's just like I can't be doing with it. Like
it's always a pointless replay as well, isn't it?
When random replays just popping in. I'm like well, I'm not interested.
A replay of a ball going up for a throw in, and the team's like attacking or something. Yeah, I get you.
Yeah, or just like it pans to the crowd and stays in the crowd for like an unnecessary amount of time when the game's on. It's like it does me head in. Like,
I get that.
That's my down. And I'll probably say that again by the end of the season. I would suspect. As long as the time goes on and my missus is getting more and more pregnant, the less likely I am going to be able to go to away games without her not being unhappy. So I might have to watch a few more on the old. I'm not joking. She's mint really. She'll let me go to as many as I want. Right. Next segment is isn't it? She's listening. Fanzone, Fan Focus, of course. Please do get your comments in the chat. Dan and Ben, of course, have saved a few as we've gone on, but the more the merrier. So let's get the show on the road.
Yep, so welcome to Fan Focus segment of the show. We're going to look at your comments, any burning questions or opinions that we might have missed throughout the course of today. Yeah, there's still time to get them into the chat, and let's throw it out to the co-host. Let's throw it out to the chat and have a bit of a discussion about, said comments. So the first one that I've actually seen that someone has kindly starred for me is this one from Brandon. And what Brandon's saying is, our home fans need to back this team and push them, especially next week. No turning up and just sitting there like they are at the theatre, because Lincoln have 5 times the atmosphere with half the numbers. What do you think about that? Obviously, a lot's been said over the course of the season, hasn't it, over what we've been like as home fans. What would you like to see going forward, and how do we kind of, suppose, cultivate that kind of intimidating atmosphere if we can for opposing teams?
You're always I'll take the reins on this first, Ben, if you don't mind. You're always going to get an expectant, and I think that's what it boils down to, an expectant fan base as far as Bolton's concerned when we're in the third tier of English football. It's as simple as that. Lincoln are scrapping to get up into the second tier for the first time in like 70 years. Obviously, not saying it means more to them, of course it doesn't, but there is less of an expectation as far as their fans are concerned for them to get promoted. So the atmosphere is, of course, going to be better. We are far more expectant for us to produce results, hence why, as Brandon's put it, people sit there like at the theatre. I get it. It's just the way it is. I do think that we can be better, but only with the fact that the players give us something to be better about, if that makes sense. It's just there's nothing you can do about it. You're going to get expectant fans, Bolton fans, turning up at the Reebok when we're in the old Division 3, as they used to call it in old money. It's just the way it is.
Yeah, I think Radix has hit the nail on the head, really. A big challenge or a fast attack early on in a game just gets fans ready. And Barnsley was the prime example for that. I mean, that's the most we've dominated at first half in a long time. But
probably
it just shows fast attacking football and a couple of good set pieces and an early goal just gets everyone buzzing. I know it seems obvious to say, but yeah, basically fast attacking football gets everyone off the seat, and it's not the easiest.
It's an early goal, isn't it, Ben?
Yeah, an early goal, and it's not the easiest. And I get it when teams come and sit those men behind the ball and basically say, right, your centre half can have the ball for a bit, but it's just a bit of you've just got to get your fans excited early as you can, and Ian, my mate Heskey, makes a good point as well. Our ground is the biggest in the league, and small grounds seem like a better atmosphere when it's more full. I thought it was a good atmosphere yesterday, and when it's a small ground and everyone seems about 5 yards away from the pitch, it does seem like a better atmosphere. Where it's for want of a better phrase, a proper stadium where we're a good 10, 15 yards away from the pitch, and there's always going to be more empty seats than there would be at a smaller ground with less fans in, because it's percentage wise fuller. But yeah, and the away followings don't help, do they? Because teams bring between like 500 and 1,000 and leave like 4,000-5,000 empty seats in that away end, whereas yesterday, I think half of why the atmosphere was so good from the Lincoln fans was because there was a full away end there, giving it back to them when they needed it. So it's one of them. Obviously, we are responsible, but there's things beyond our.
Lincoln's grounds yesterday was 95% full.
Yeah.
Our grounds, by comparison against Barnsley, was 75% full.
Yeah.
I think Ben makes a really good point there regarding our away following. I think there's definitely an onus on the home team when the away fans are turning out in numbers to kind of at least match the noise that's coming from there. And like he says, there's some games where we're getting 400 or 500 fans in the away end. It's just a different kind of atmosphere and dynamic, I think, when it's there. So I think there's definitely something in that. And as well, obviously, the expectation side of it, Cole, that you mentioned, I think that's definitely plays a part into us in terms of our patience and whatnot. But like you say, the Barnsley game, we started fast. And sometimes it's not even a goal, is it? You just want to see someone smash into someone or show a bit of commitment. And I'm not saying they're not, but that, when someone absolutely flattens someone, it's going to get the crowd up and make it easier for them to get behind. So cheers for that, Brandon. So the next one is Peter Parker. And I know that's not his real name, Cole. So what he's saying is, what's the difference with Shuey compared to Everett? What's different with Shuey compared to Everett is that we compete in the big games. We've only lost once against the top six this season against Stockport and should have won confidence for the end of the season. I think that's a very fair thing to have a chat about because, like we said earlier, I mentioned that something we'd had levied against us for a long time is that we simply don't turn up in the big games against the big teams under the previous regime in particular. So everything's showing that we do. What might that mean when it comes to the run-in and the end of the season for us?
Honestly, I'm not worried about the end of the season, mate. People keep going on about that. I'll be truthful because I think a couple of them teams as well mentioned. I think their season will be almost pretty much finished by the time we play them as well. Like Huddersfield, the way they're going, they'll end up dropping out of the playoffs pretty soon as well. And I think we played Bradford as well. I can see them dropping out. So I think there's going to be a few teams that Luton are another one, aren't we? That we play. They're likely to be dropped out as well. So. Yeah, I'm not too worried about the end of the season. Not only because I don't think we've got a good result, we've got a good recent history against the bigger sides in this division. But yeah, I'm not overly worried personally.
So we got. I think. Sorry, Ben. I think you might be leading on to this now, but I think if you're thinking about it from maybe like a playoff perspective,
okay.
That's what I was thinking. I mean, it's two things in it. Obviously, that run into end of the season, it's no secret that we've got a tougher running than most of the teams. But as you say, if that was a couple of seasons ago, I'm maybe a bit worried because we've never really turned up, especially away from home against the better teams. But we have this season, and going into the playoffs, I'd be pretty confident that we can beat anyone over two legs and then get to Wembley. And obviously, it's a one-off game, but the only team we've gone to the only team we've played this season in the top 7 or maybe even 8 that we've lost to is Stockport, and that was first game of the season with like 7 debutants, and we didn't deserve to lose that game. Really, it was a pretty close game. So yeah, I'll be confident whoever we play in the playoffs if it comes to that. More confident than probably the last 2 playoff campaigns.
Yeah, I think I'd definitely agree. Obviously, your form kind of goes out the window to a certain extent, doesn't it? You only have to look at. Was it Oxford when they snuck in, coming from nowhere the other season? But I think it should be of some benefit for us should we end up in the playoffs, which might not do, but it's looking likely at the minute. Cheers for that, Peter. So the next one is from Rob T, and he's saying, John McGinley says he thinks Shuey is our best manager since Big Sam. Mentality and togetherness in the dressing room is much better now. We'll be in a better state to hit the playoffs if needs be than 2024. So again, first of all, that's quite a big claim, I think, from Super John, who I think speaks so much sense on Bolton. Yeah. But it's kind of a two-pronged question, isn't it? So first of all, we've already touched on the kind of playoff element. Obviously, you can expand on what you want to say if you need to. But the best manager since Big Sam, how's that sitting with you two?
Go on, Col.
I think if he was to get us promoted and kind of solidified us back in the Championship, then I'd probably be inclined to agree with that. But obviously, Parky got us promoted, didn't he, from this division? So you have to give him credit. Also, yeah, I mean, he's not. To be fair, he hasn't really got much. Everton really didn't achieve. It's difficult with Everton, innit? Because he did achieve something, but he achieved what is an absolute bare minimum in terms of getting out of League Two with a very healthy budget. And then when he was in this league, he got well back, didn't he? And didn't really do a lot, really, either. So I think it's difficult. You have to try and remove that kind of recency thought from your mind, don't you, when you're talking about this? Is he the best? I mean, yeah.
To be fair, there's not a long list of great managers since Big Sam is there, so there's not loads of competition. But yeah, he has to achieve something first, doesn't he? I mean, It's funny, really. There's only just over a month ago people were calling for his head.
I know.
I agree with everything that surrounding him is the way he conducts himself and the way he speaks and the way he obviously instills confidence. And as you said, in the dressing room, I think he's got everything about him to be a really good manager for us. And I'm liking what I'm seeing so far. But yeah, we've got to go up this season for him to be in that conversation.
That's it.
That's it, innit? And I think Everett did what he did. Like you said, it was kind of the bare minimum when we were in League Two to get out of that league. The expectation of our fan base. Parky were great. I think he's a class act, Parky, and he really got done over by us, didn't he? All right, it wasn't nice football all the time, but he did well.
But yeah,
it is an understatement.
Very similar to the way that Lincoln played. To be fair,
it's that's the thing, isn't it? It's all about playing to your strengths, isn't it? Ideologies and philosophies are great, but if you get teams that play to their strengths as individual players, then you're probably going to do better. Okie dokie. So thank you very much for that question, Rob, or statement. I think that's probably it for Fan Focus for now. So thank you for getting them in. And even though if you're watching this back on YouTube at a later date, if you don't feel like that you've missed out on the chat, obviously leave us a comment on the YouTube channel. We'll carry it on there if we need to. That'd be great for us. We check that over all the time, and if there's anything that you've missed out or that you think, oh, we should have asked that, and get it on there, and we'll get back to you. But thanks for that.
Fabulous. Thank you very much, everybody. And thanks very much, Dan, for managing that. Really good job. Listen, been 103 people listening and tuning in live tonight. It's been great to have you all with us. Obviously, we go down to Reading on Tuesday. We have already done the preview for the Reading game. That was with Jake on Thursday. Massive Reading fan. But he got a good knowledge of kind of the Royals in that respect. So it was very much appreciated that he kind of jumped on and went through all that stuff. For those of you who are travelling down to Reading or across to Reading or up to Reading, no matter whereabouts in the UK that you're travelling to watch the Wanderers on Tuesday, safe travels for you are going. I'm going actually on my own for the first time ever. I'm going to an away game on with Todd. So say hello if you see me. Give me a bit of company. Just in case you're wondering, I'm going down because I'm tying it in with work and it just kind of makes sense, like why I'm down that way. But yeah, say hello. Just a reminder as well, obviously tonight's episode, of course, was sponsored by Loving My Socials. A massive thank you to Leanne for her ongoing support this season and all the seasons that she's been with us. Actually, she's been a great advocate of the Fanzone pod over the years. If you want to learn more about Leanne and the wonderful work that she does for a plethora of businesses up and down the UK in terms of designing their websites and graphic content. Please head over to our website, which you can learn more about that. And so it sticks in your mind, just so you know what Loving My Socials is all about. Here's Ben.
Loving My Socials, here we go.
Now, if you can't remember Loving My Socials following that, then you've absolutely no chance. Ben, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, mate. Been a pleasure.
Dan, likewise.
Thank you, boys. Pleasure as always.
Worth noting as well that the lads, our good friends Jake and Nappers, are over on League One Live as we speak. And Jake told me, reliably informed me, that he was going to leave the Bolton and Lincoln game right to the end of the show, which should be around about now. So if you have got the time, of course, jump over to Nappers' channel, obviously on League One Live on COD's Vlogs, I think is the right channel, and listen to Jake's two penneth following yesterday's draw with Lincoln. But thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you on the next one, you Whites.
Yeah, boys.